Welcome back and to our fourth series on making the most of our time at home. So I want to teach you a metaphor called rocks in a jar. And in this metaphor, the jar represents our time, which we seem to have a lot of right now. But the reality is that time is an extremely valuable resource. And it's the most valuable resource because we can't get more of it. Number two is the big rocks. These are your priorities, things that really matter to you, like your family or your health or your schoolwork or, your hobbies. Then the little rocks or the beans are things that don't really matter. They're things that, sometimes we do mindlessly that kind of eat up and waste time. It might be mindlessly scrolling through social media or watching endless YouTube videos or playing a video game over and over again that we really don't care about. Now, don't get me wrong, all of those things can also sometimes be big rocks, as sometimes we really need some space to just relax and get our mind off of things. And that can be important as well. But in this scenario, what we're talking about is those things as being kind of time wasters. And if I wake up in the morning and lay in my bed and just allow myself to do hours of scrolling and YouTube videos and mindless time, then I end up taking up a bunch of my day with these things that don't matter. And if I continue to put the rocks that aren't my priorities in first, then what happens is the things that are my priorities suddenly have a hard time fitting. The things that are priorities start to be sacrificed. And what's the problem with this is that if we live a life where we allow the beans to go first and each day we have our priorities sticking out the top, then what happens is we start to feel really guilty as we see a more disparate view or a different view of the life we want to be living compared to the life that we're living. And if that's the case, that can really get problematic for us, and it actually impacts our own self-esteem and our own mental health. But the point is that you need to identify what your big rocks are, because, watch this, if I flip the whole thing and I put my big rocks first, so I put in my big rock of family, and now I put in my big rock of schoolwork and health and hobbies. And if this was my life and I went to bed every night with this, I'd feel really good about myself, like I was accomplishing the things that really mattered to me. And I would feel productive even in a shutdown pandemic situation. I'd feel like I was getting the things done that I cared about. Now, what's amazing is in this situation, if I were to get that done, and that's all I did, it might feel a little bit like what's called a Spartan existence, meaning that I'm only focusing on business and very little pleasure or very little of the lighthearted things. But what's amazing is that when I put my big rocks first, and then I put the beans in second, you can end up getting not only the things that matter most to you done, but also still having time for things that feel sometimes like just a little bit enjoyable time wasters. But what's great is they're so much more enjoyable when your priorities are already done, because you're doing them guilt-free. So what I want you to think about is, what are your big rocks? What are the things that really matter to you? Put them in order. What are your top 5 big rocks? And then I want you to think about the last 3 or 4 days. What have you been spending your time on? What are the top 5 things that you've spent your time on? Now, if your big rocks match the things you're spending your time on, then your life is in balance with your values. But if your big rocks don't match the things you're spending your time on, then it probably means you need to reassess your priorities and put your big rocks first. Again, when you do that, you'll find you still have right time for the little things, and you'll enjoy those little things more because they will be carefree when you do. All right, I hope this was helpful. So please figure out your big rocks and then put your big rocks first. You'll still have time for the little things, but you'll feel a lot better about what you do each day. And I'll see you in the next video.